Group B16 Suggestopedia. Suggestopedia, a teaching method which focuses on how to deal with the relationship between mental potential and learning ability, and it is very appropriate to use in teaching speaking for young language learners. One of the methods which concerns the students' learning style because there are visual display, audio, and physical involvement during learning process. Moreover, it involves emotional meaning in given the lesson, which helps students better in memorizing. Goals of Suggestopedia. Number 1, aims to give its learners advanced conversational proficiency in the language in a short period of time. Number 2, aims at increasing memory power for the student by positive comprehensive stimulation of personality. Number 3, not only focuses on memorization of vocabulary pairs, but also teach the students to come up with the creative solution to their problems. And lastly, to accelerate the process by which students learn a foreign language.
Okay, so I am Elvira Tagpeo and I am going to discuss about the background of Suggestopedia. Suggestopedia is a teaching method developed by a Bulgarian scholar, Professor Georgy Lusanov, a physician, psychiatrist, and a physiologist. Suggestopedia was founded in the 70s, and it is also acknowledged by an international group of UNESCO experts in the late 70s. Professor Georgy created Suggestopedia for learning that capitalize on relaxed state of mind for maximum retention material. It is also often claimed that it can teach languages approximately 3 times as quickly as the conventional method. And the main objective of Suggestopedia is to teach or to motivate more students' mental potential to learn and which obtained by suggestion. Next, let's discuss about the 7 laws of Suggestopedia. The first law is love. The teacher must love their students, itself, and the learning process to be able to help the learners to cope up, and love also creates an environment of liberation, trust, and self-expression, and empathy as well as communication. So the next law is freedom. Freedom. The next law is freedom. Freedom is to help the students to train them to be able to talk and suggest whatever their ideas in their own way. The next law is the conviction of the teacher that something unusual is taking place. So here, when the teacher is convicted that something unusual is happening on the learning process, this sparks inspiration transferred to the students. The most important here is the attitude and the behavior, so that it will motivate their learners. Next is to manifold increases of input volume. Here, Professor Lusanov says that the greater load on the memory, the better the result. According to him, nowadays the learners are capable of acquiring material at least twice or three times as fast, and even up to 10 times more effectively. The next law is conduction, global, partial global, and partial true global. Here, the learning process is synchronized, teaching the parts through the global, where the global is leading. The next law is the golden ratio. We can find it anywhere around the nature as well as in classical art. Applied in teaching, it can help us learn without fatigue. It has a mathematical representation, which is the 0.618. Golden ratio guides us in fixing the time for the different suggestopedic activities and orchestrates the whole suggestopedic process. The next law is the use of classical art and aesthetics. Um, Here, suggestopedic art inspires the learners, help their acquisition of the new knowledge, and encourages ethical relationships within the group. So that's it.
Next is I will discuss the characteristics of Suggestopedia, which is the number one is it preserves the whole personality like memory, intellectual activity, creativity, since if the teacher does not release many-sided reserve capacities of the students, it will not be able to be said as Suggestopedia. Next characteristic is the instruction that are given by the teachers, always accompanied with an effect of relaxation or at least one without a feeling of fatigue. If the students are getting tired in the lessons, the application of Suggestopedia is I will be able to be failed. Third one is the teaching and learning always give pleasant experience for the students. The teaching and learning will be able to make the students experience and show their own skills and ability, as well as the teacher will be able to show their passion in teaching. Fourth one, which is the last one, is the teaching and learning always has educational effect, softening aggressive tendencies in students and helping them to adapt the society. So, teacher has to be organized. Teacher has to organize the suggestive factors in order in a they should be organized the suggestive factors in a learning process in order to reveal the students' talents. Next, I will discuss is the pros and cons of Suggestopedia. First is the pros, which is it can be motivating and relaxing since the important objective of Suggestopedia is to motivate more of students' mental potential to learn and which obtain by suggestion. Next is it can be a good for physical health, wherein the psychologist says that Suggestopedia was created to activate the reserve capacities of the mind. It is also quicker than other conventional methods and it activates mental potential. The Suggestopedia will be able to make the students feel safe enough to let go and take risks without any fear of the criticism or the ridicule. As for the cons, as for the cons, infantilization learning, wherein there are some students who do not uh, like to be treated like this, as they think that they were mature. The classical music isn't desired by many people also, since not all students are prior to the classical, and there are some that cannot be motivated. Only a certain kind of teachers is reliable to teach using the Suggestopedia method, since all teachers have their own way when it comes to their methods in teaching. Many teachers may not be accurate on what they will be able to teach. The provision, and the last one is the provision of materials isn't always possible. Materials is very important in making the students be more active learners, and those materials may be lacked in other things. That's all.
Good day everyone, this is Cristel A. Henaro and I will be discussing about the suggested activities of Suggestopedia. First, I will discuss 4 different stages and I will give the suggested activities in each stage. First stage is presentation stage. The main aim in this stage is to help students relax and move into a positive frame of mind, with the feeling that the learning is going to be easy and fun. In this stage, to make the students relax, the teacher gives an icebreaker before they start the lesson. So the suggested activity in this stage is charades. Charades can free students from the boredom, demotivation, and fear of learning. Next is concert sessions. In these concert sessions, Lozanov divided it into 2 parts. Those are active session and passive session. Active session involves the active presentation of the material to be learned. So, the suggested activity in this session is lyric translation, where students get the translation and should be informed about the music that they are listening. Next is passive session. In this stage, the students are now invited to relax. The suggested activity in this stage is to listen to Baroque music, where students can feel the relaxation in that music. Next stage is elaboration. The first word the teacher says opens up a dialogue. For example, the teacher reminds the students in between what they are going to do. So, the suggested activity in this stage is funny skits, which helps the students with the most difficult parts of the lesson. And lastly, the practice stage. It is given the day after the second concert. The students are not told to do any sit works or homeworks. So, the suggested activity in this stage is heads up. It is for the students to review and consolidate the learning.